So, ulitin ko. If you're employing design thinking, you're pulling together with what's desirable from a human point of view or, let's say, perspective. Diba? It's also allow those who aren't trained as designers to use creative tools to address a vast range of challenges. Kasi, ang design thinking is one of the tools in order to solve from a simple to complex problem into based on the problem, you arrive a solution by means of coming up with a process, a system, or a product. The process starts with taking action and understanding the right questions. It's about, in other words, it's about embracing simple mindset shifts and tackling problems from a new direction. Okay, so these are the factors. And before you start adapting or applying the design thinking, may three factors tayo. Desirability or the desire to do to solve a particular problem. What we have is uh, the technological feasibility, or can we come up with this kind of product or innovation, and it is economically viable. So these are the things you need to consider. Okay. So the phases of design thinking, alam na natin. Kasi alam ko, you prepared your output. I saw the works of Mr. Ascucha. Okay? Um, Later, they will present yung kanilang, kasi ito yung una nakita ko naka-upload na eh. Sa phase of design thinking, ang una is framing a question. It means to identify a driving question that inspires others to search for creative solutions. Okay? Second, you need to gather inspiration. Okay? You have to inspire new thinking by means of discovering what people really need. Ang common goal nito, babalik lang to sa mga persons na kailangan ng technology or ng tulong para mag-arrive to a particular solution. Next is to generate ideas. Push past obvious solutions to get a breakthrough or to get to breakthrough ideas. Okay. The good thing is, in generating ideas, you and your team are brainstorming. Diba? Nag-uusap kayo, you exchange ideas, sometimes nagkakaroon ng discussion, but for the sole purpose of coming up with a solution. Diba? So that is generating ideas. And out of that idea, put it into action or make it tangible. Okay? It means to say you should build draft prototypes. Kailangan may output kayo. Diba? At based on what you interviewed ng mga let's say ang inyong subject of study is about mga physically challenged. Diba? Um, for example, the blind. They are having difficulty in walking along the streets na minsan kailangan pa ng companion. So out of it, you brainstorm with your group. So ano ba yung gagawin nating technology? So it could be a crane, 'di ba? Tungkod na merong vibration na every time na merong obstacle, wina-warn niya yung naglalakad or yung may physically challenge para to facilitate and maayos ang paglakad niya. So ganun ang konsepto niya. And based on that idea, naggawa kayo ng prototype. And out of it, after the prototype, pinatest nyo doon sa physically challenged. Diba? And you share and you inspire others na ito pala effective to na makakatulong. So the goal of design thinking is to solve a particular problem. So after we discuss about make ideas tangible, next is to test. Test to learn. Meaning to say, we have to refine ideas by gathering feedback and experimenting forward. So yung ginawa mong crane na may vibration, ipapatest mo dun. And sometimes, hindi lang sa team ka makakuha ng ideas or wisdom, even sa nangangailangan o so nagamit kang device mo. Okay, to further improve your study, to further improve your product or device. Okay, the last is share the story. So meaning to say, craft a human story to inspire others toward action. So that is the phases of design thinking. So let us discuss one by one for each uh, the different phases or design thinking process. The first one is to empathize. Diba? When we say empathy or empathize, this means parang a deeper understanding. Diba? Empathize is to understand. But from the word empathy, parang mas malalim pa doon. You have to live, you need to parang immerse, you need to deal with this as your respondents or subject of study. You need to understand the situation. Dapat mong pag-aralan kung ano ang kailangan nila. So, yun ang unang ginagawa sa design thinking is you empathize. Okay? The empathize is the first stage of this process wherein you need to gain an empathic understanding of the problem you are trying to solve. This involves consulting experts to find out more about the area of concern by means of observing, engaging, and empathizing with people to understand their experiences and motivations as well as immersing yourself in the physical environment so you can gain a deeper personal understanding of the issue. So sa design thinking pala, ang una natin gagawin is to empathize. How we're going to do it is either we consult them, we conduct interview, diba? Or join or immerse with them to understand the physical environment or their world na sa ginagalawan nila so that maintindihan natin lalo kung ano ang kanilang problema or issue. Actually, itong process na to class is crucial to a human-centered design process. And empathy allows design thinkers to set aside their own assumptions about the world. Kasi ang design thinking, it's not on the engineers, designers perspective. Okay? Kung ang course mo is MEIEIT, your researches, di ba, is more on developing instructional materials or developing technology that will improve the delivery of instruction. Ito yung mindset dapat natin. Mag-i-invent ka, mag-i-innovate ka ng isang technology, dapat you design, you build, not for your own. Kahit ako, sir, ako sa yung teacher, ako yung indicator. Ako yung ako nakakaintindi ng pangangailangan ng estudyante. Later on, during the defense, baka balik ta rin ka. Ano naman yung student? The very purpose of why you develop technology or you develop a material for instruction. Kaya nga, this course, di ba, the production of audiovisual aids and devices, gagawa kayo ng material ninyo. Hindi kayo magde-design ng material nyo or device base sa paniniwala nyo or just your assumptions. Dapat intindihin nyo ang nature of learners. If you can still remember, you have different models sa paggawa ng instructional material. We have the ADI, we have the Assure model. Sa ADI, it's an abbreviation, ADDIE. Lima yan eh. You have analyze, define, I forgot the other term eh. Una is analyze. The first thing that why you want to come up with a module, why you come up with a course guide or a resource book is simply because the first thing you should consider is the nature of the learner. Sino ba ang mga estudyante mo? Anong grade or year level sila? So yun ang i-consider mo. Hindi ka gagawa ng, halimbawa, gumawa ka ng module, but yung content mo are highfalutin or masyadong complicated ang terms na hindi appropriate sa audience mo or sa learner mo. So you should consider also. So kailangan kausapin muna sila, You talk to them before you arrive with this kind of a solution. Okay? Next is define. Define the problem. This is the second phase. Pero iterative pa rin to. Bala ka kung pwede mo unahin yung define followed by empathy. So, during the define stage, you put together the information. Di ba nag-interview ka na? Nagtanong-tanong ka na? Nag-immerse ka sa mga respondents mo or sa mga subject of study mo. This time, you put together the information you have created and gathered during the empathize stage. You need to dig deeper. You have to analyze your observations and synthesize them in order to define the core problems that you and your team have identified up to this point. You should seek to define the problem as a problem statement in a human-centered manner. Ang define is parang statement of the problem in the context of research. You have to formulate mga questions based on your observations, and you're going to synthesize based on the data that you gathered. Instead of defining the problem as your own wish or a need of the company, okay, the define stage will help the designers in your team gather great ideas, establish features, functions, and any other elements that will allow them to solve the problem, or at the very least, or allow users to resolve issues themselves. But it does not arrive with a concrete solution yet. Diba? The define stage, you're gathering, started to gather great ideas for ano ba yung mga pwede nating remedy or just a temporary solution. But ito pa rin yung hindi pa concrete solution. Okay? That is the define phase. The third one is the ideate. Okay? Ito yung sinasabi nating generation of ideas. You know what, class? Pwede nyo siyang gamitin sa inyong classroom, sa inyong organization, sa inyong paggawa ng research. This is an effective tool or solution-based process para magpunta kayo ng research ninyo or study ninyo. Sa akin, sa during my dissertation stage, ginamit ko siyang model para maka-generate ako ng technology base sa needs ng mga students. Okay. Sa ideate po, it means to say you generate ideas. Designers are ready to start generating ideas. Naintindihan mo na yung users and their needs sa empathize stage, and you've analyzed and synthesized naman nag-synthesize ka base sa observation mo sa define stage. And you end up with a human-centered problem statement. Okay. Ito yung brainstorming stage. Actually, class, madaming models or process ang pwedeng gamitin. We have the scamper, isa yan sa mga tool na ginagamit. Parang it's a design thinking din siya, pero ang scamper ginagamit yan sa pag-develop or pag-come up ng technology. Lalo na kapag halimbawa, magkukonduct ka ng research, you want to introduce a product or technology. And later on, pag Google search mo, pag Google patent mo, or gumamit ka ng mga search engines, you found out yung idea mo is meron na or existing na. So, hindi siya allowable pag magkukonduct ka ng proposal sa research. Take note of this, because later on, you will be conducting your research. Dapat, if you want to a good characteristics of research, dapat it should be of ingenuity. Novel. Pag sinabi nating novel, original. Okay? Sir, ang dami na pong existing technology sa market. Ang dami na pong mga studies akong nabasa na sa tingin ko, sir, parang related naman. If you can't come up with an idea, because alam naman natin, madami ng mga technology nagsisilabasan. But, may tinatawag tayong innovate. Iba ang invent, iba ang innovate. Pag sinabi natin invent, you are going to create something new, right? Ang innovate naman po, out of the existing technology, product, devices, lalagyan mo siya ng twist. You're, kagaya sa scamper, you're going to modify, you're going to, for example, may isa kang gadget na gustong i-introduce, pero existing na pala to. Pwede mong i-reduce yung size, pwede mong i-combine, may combine ka na other features. So these are the factors. Later on, sa subject na, sa topic natin, intellectual property rights, saka copyrights and patents, maintindihan ninyo na kailangan ang ideas ninyo, ang technology ninyo should be protected. And I'm encouraging students here who will be researchers na pwede po kayong mag-apply for copyright for patent. And your idea or technology should be protected. Okay? After the define ideate stage, since we are through with the empathize and define, and later on ideate na discuss na natin, the next one is the testing. I know, prototyping. Okay? The design team will now produce a number of inexpensive, scaled down versions of the product for specific features found within the product, so they can investigate the problem solutions generated in the previous stage. Ako, bago gumawa, kasi ako si Sir Kenji, I'm into prototyping. I'm into developing a product, a gadget, or a device for instructional purposes. Okay? Um, bago ako gumawa ng actual product, i-test ko muna siya by means of coming up with prototype. Kagaya ng mga engineers, kagaya ng mga architect, bago magpatayo ng isang malaking model, ay isang malaking building, I'm sorry, kailangan muna ng isang scale model or maliit. Just to check kung meron pang dapat ayusin or baguhin para ma-improve yung gagawin mong output. Okay? Kaya sa research sa amin, meron kaming tinatawag na prototype. Kahit maliit pa lang siya, ini-introduce na. Minsan gumagamit kami ng cardboard or any material para ma-introduce namin yung gagawin namin technology. Before, isa lang namin or gumawa kami ng actual device. Okay? This is the fourth phase of design thinking. Or in other words, prototyping is the experimental phase. And the aim is to identify the best solution or the best possible solution for each of the problems that were identified during the first three stages. Yan ang prototyping. Ulitin natin when we say prototyping class, this is an experimental phase. Okay? This is the testing part wherein you're going to come up with the best solutions or arrive the best possible solutions for each of the problems identified during the first three stages. Okay? And the last one class, I'll just give you the gist kung ano ba yung ating design thinking before we proceed with your output presentation. The last part is what we call testing. Okay? Designers or evaluators rigorously test the complete product using the best solutions identified during the prototyping phase. I rather say. This is the final stage of the 5-stage model. But in an iterative, when I say iterative, pwede mo siyang palitan, pwede mo siyang baguhin. Pwedeng mag-umpisa ka ulit sa prototyping. Pwedeng may problema pala sa aming define stage. Kaya, as model, it's a non-linear nature. Okay. Pwede mong balikan. Diba? Even you are finished with the product, if there is an existing problem, pwede mong balikan kung anong phase ka nagkulang o nagkaroon ng problema. The testing phase are often used to redefine one or more problems and inform the understanding of the users, the conditions of use, how people think, behave, feel, and to empathize. Don't worry, sa testing phase po, pwedeng magkaroon ng alterations and refinements. Kailangan natin improve yung ating product in order to rule out the problem solutions and derive as a deep and understanding of the product and its users as possible. So class, ito po yung ating basic concept ng design thinking. Okay? So that is how I end my simple presentation. Just to give you an idea kung ano ba and to give you a clear picture kung ano ba ang design thinking. Ulitin natin ano, design thinking is a model wherein it compasses or it comprises of 5 stages. We have the empathize or empathy to have a deeper understanding on the respondents or the subject of our study. Second is we have the define. We're on defining the problem, coming up with questions in order to arrive with a specific solutions. Okay? Ang third is ideate. Out of the problems na or questions na nagawa, you're going to brainstorm. Uh, you need to work in groups together. Your ideas here are essential para ma-improve. Okay? Out of the products generated, the fourth one or the next stage is the prototyping. Okay? Ito yung refine, ini-improve natin and ito yung part na kailangan natin mag-arrive ng best possible solution existing problem. I-clear ko lang ano, ang design thinking hindi po 'yan paggawa ng prototype, pag-introduce ng technology or product. Maraming phases po, there are different kinds or ways on how you solve a particular problem, 'di ba? Pwedeng you want to improve the system in your company. Halimbawa, you are working in electronics industry. Nakikita mo mabagal yung stages ng production. O may nakikita ka sa kada area or department there is an existing problem. So you can adapt design thinking just to improve the process. Okay, hindi lang siya purely prototyping or coming up with a technology or device. Hindi po ganun. Okay? And the last one is testing. This is the refinement. Kung merong alterations, kung merong dapat ayusin, you can do that sa testing. And ipapagamit mo 'yan sa inyong end users na merong ganitong klaseng problema. Okay? So that is how I sum up my presentation about design thinking. Class, may I ask, is there any question regarding the topic for clarification? Class, are you still with me?
Yes po. None po, sir.
Wala po, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sige. So, I think it's high time now since I already presented to you. Okay? I think you have the copy of the material already. Ano? Saka yung iba naman, yung copy niya is makikita naman po sa ating Google Classroom for further readings or para at least maintindihan po natin kung ano yung topic. Sige. So, I think it's high time now to present your output. Right? And let me now start, class. Ba't ang tahimik po? May kwan ba? Ba't may dumaan bang anghel, class? Ba't ang tahimik natin? Sino ba? Any volunteer? Any volunteer po? Sino po yung nagtaas ng kamay? Let's see.
Sir Junel po.
Sila Junel. Okay. So, Junel, ilan kayo? Ilan kayo sa grupo?
Wait lang po, sir.
Sige. Who are your members?
6 po, sir.
7.
Ay,
7.
6 po, 6.
6 lang po. 6 lang. Yung kanina, sa delete ko.
Ano ba talaga? 6 or 7?
6, sir. 6.
Para, okay. Sige. Okay. Sino yung 6 or 7?
So we have ako po, Sir Junel Escucha, Jose Paulo Delgado, Jake Prades, Lovely Borromeo, Cheryl Lozada, and Emily Razo.
Okay. Mr. Ascucha,
Yes
papaano na,
po.
pa, nakaka-share screen ka? Kasi on my end, hindi ako nakaka-share screen. Gusto ko sana makita yung output ninyo.
Wait lang po.
May problema ata yung Google Meet natin. Last time, yung recording, wala na.
Sa recording, sir, tinanggal na po ata talaga nila. Sa
Hmm.
recording, sir.
Pero, pero di ba ngayon, I observed this yesterday sa klase ko, isang subject. Yung, meron siyang share screen, pero pag i-click kong share siya, hindi na o-open.
Ayan po, sir.
Sige. Okay. Let us see your output.
May start na po, sir. Okay.
Hindi ko nakikita. How about the rest? On my end, hindi ko siya. Okay. Okay na.
Yan na po.
Sige.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So, this is the presentation or output of our group with the following group members: Junella Escucha, Jose Paulo Delgado, Jake Paredes, Lovely Borromeo, Cheryl Rosada, and Emily Razo. So, let me just read our introduction. So, the education system has recently been rocked by an unexpected health crisis that has shattered its foundation as a preventive precaution against the spread of COVID-19. Most educational systems around the world have shifted to a remote learning approach. It is either modular, online, or blended learning modality. However, as beneficial and innovative as the new learning environment may appear, it brought problems that not all students are prepared for. So, as a result, designing a strategy that will enable students to make learning more accessible and is necessary. Accessible and feasible is necessary. So we used the design thinking process with the following: empathize, define IGA, prototype, and test. So let's start with empathize. In empathize, we are expected let me just read our introduction for Empathize. So we are expected to engage in the new standard learning system as the academic year begins. So the Department of Education is certain that learning must continue, hence a variety of learning modalities are given. So the modular learning modality is one of the learning alternatives open to us. Self-learning modules are individualized instructional materials in print or digital format that teachers provide based on their curriculum and course description. So, as idealistic as it may sound, the shift from traditional learning to home based learning had its consequences. So, what are these consequences? So, in this process, Empathize, we identified the challenges that learners mostly encountered based on our own observation and based on the existing researches, and which we can be easily minimized. We only choose the following challenges for diverse learners applicable for modular, online, or blended learning modalities. Number one, unstable internet connectivity, inadequate learning resources, electric power interruptions, vague learning contents, limited teacher scaffolds, poor time management, and difficulty in coping with the lesson. So out of so many challenges, we only chose the following. So let's now proceed with define. So after identifying the problems that we want to address or at least minimize, so in defining process or in this process, the identified challenges were determined how they were affecting the learners in new normal education. At the same time, the body or the group, okay, us interconnected the problems to each other so that we could come up with one product or technology that would help to minimize or address them. So we have the following questions or guide questions to do this process. So why are they considered as challenges of distance learning? So how do these challenges affect the learners in distance learning? How are they interconnected to each other? And what can we create to minimize these challenges? And we have the sample answers for the following guide questions. Interconnecting the following challenges. So students are looking for other learning resources or references from the internet, since this is the only way to address the limited teacher-made learning materials and vague learning content. So this action will not be easy for students if they have unstable internet connection. At the same time, um, connecting to Wi-Fi or internet also affected by the electric power interruptions, because some gadgets are powered by electricity to work. So that's how we connect each problem or challenges. So another interconnecting of the challenges. So there is a poor time management, because sometimes students are spending too much time in searching for other learning resources aside from the conflict in their home responsibilities. So if they will spend more time in accomplishing one task, so maybe it will be hard for them to cope up with the lessons, especially for our SLM or self-learning modules. Yes, there is already a discussion or information sheets, but yet, since we have a lot of activities, a lot of tasks, those informations are not enough to answer the task given or activities. Sobrang dami ng activities pero yung sagot wala dun sa nabigay na discussion or information sheets. That's why the students are forced to use other learning resources or other way to find learning resources, especially the use of internet or Google. So as we have here the Untitled internet connection of the challenges. So how they are connected to each other. So at the end, we decided to create a learning tool where learning resources such as materials and educational videos are found. A learning tool that can be accessed with or without the use of internet, since it's the second choice of the students, the use of internet to find other learning resources. So with this, the challenges of the students in doing their distance learning will be minimized. So the main goal of this design thinking process is to minimize the challenges, kasi hindi naman totally mawawala yung mga challenges of the learners during the new normal education. So at least we can help them to minimize their challenges or struggles in distance learning. So in this process, ideate before we finalize the instructional material or tool that we want to create to minimize our identified challenges in distance learning, we had to take some research and identify factors to be considered so that we can determine how helpful it will be and its limitations. So after all, the body decided to create a course library mobile application that will supplement the self-learning modules. So, but before that, we had the following suggestions or suggested solutions from our group members: teacher modified SLM or modified modules, video-based discussions saved in flash drive or provided by the students, and letter C, course library mobile application. So we have the number of votes. For letter A, there are 2. For B, there is 1, and for letter C, there were 3. So nanalo yung course library mobile application. But what is course library mobile application? So we identified first the available learning resources bago kami nagsimula mag-plan. Plan for the course library mobile application. So we considered the existing learning resources. So we identified the existing learning resources and determined their accessibility, availability, advantages, and disadvantages. So let's say for example, books. Available ba yung books? Accessible ba yung books? Ano yung mga disadvantages? Okay, in our situation, most especially in public schools. Sa private school, wala namang problem because they have providers. But for the public, medyo limited yung supply ng books. And almost wala sa ibang schools. And other learning resources, online resources. But the problem for online learning resources, you the students do not know how to fact check or ano pa tawag doon, if the website they are browsing is reliable because sometimes most of the results puro blogs, puro research, and not totally standard information for a specific topic. And for the module of the DepEd, um, there were vague informations, not clear informations, disadvantages. Accessible, yes, because um, our modules were printed by this school or provided by this school. And DepEd TV naman, yes, maganda yung DepEd TV because there are discussions for a specific subject. But the problem is some some students or some television cannot access the channel for DepEd TV, and the top the discussion for a specific subject and topics were scheduled or are scheduled. The same with Radyo Eskwela. So ang problema, hindi sila totally accessible um, whenever you want, whenever you want. So with this, we made an idea what can we add to these available resources. So we and that is the learning program innovation that will provide learners available easy access and beneficial to the learning process of students. So we also consider the involvement of e-learning or mobile learning in modular distance learning. So most of the students utilizes smartphones and other gadgets in their distance learning. So they use it to look for more learning resources online aside from SLM itself because the information in it are not enough to accomplish learning activities or tasks. So we used also surveys conducted surveys by the reliable organizations to determine how many learners are using gadgets for their distance learning, especially the number of learners who use smartphones and gadgets or tablets. So we use this data from SWS or ano nga meaning ng SWS? Wait lang, hanapin ko yung meaning. Social Weather Station.
Social weather.
So according to Social Weather Station, almost 6 out of 10 students use devices for distance learning. So out of the 6%, 79% of 6 out of 10 Filipinos, 79% smartphone and 4%, 3% for tablets. So 5% naman for television and 13% for laptops. So with the use of these data, we can easily identify who will benefit, who will benefit, or the beneficiaries of our mobile application. Okay, for the private school, almost 100%. They have gadgets, they have smartphones, they have laptops. Especially, example in our school, USL Gaspi, most of our students, they have gadgets for their distance learning. And it's almost 100%. So what is in Course Library mobile application? So Course Library mobile application will be designed to hold and store filtered learning materials such as ebooks or reading materials and educational videos needed by the student. So it works as handy tech app where the students can view and download uploaded learning resources by the admin or developers, and it is categorized by subjects. So it will also store learning resources such as reading materials and linked websites where they can visit for other information aside from the uploaded reading materials and videos that are checked and approved. So there will be sections where the categorized important learning resources can be accessed without the use of the internet, making it more user and time friendly. So features of the course library, accessible learning resources such as reading materials, educational videos, and reliable linked websites. So downloadable learning resources for offline access. So just in case there is power interruption, you can still access your phone or your mobile phone to answer your modules. Since unless low-bat na yung phone mo, can be directed to reliable educational websites through clickable links or buttons. And main objectives of the course library mobile app is to provide accessible reading materials and educational videos online or offline. So to minimize the common challenges encountered by the learners in distance learning. So course library parang ano lang siya, parang slide share where you can download your reading materials or Wattpad, and Netflix where you can download for offline access yung mga videos. So accessibility and feasibility, learners can easily download and install the application from Google Play Store. Learners can download reading materials and videos for offline access, and learners can access more reliable websites for more information that are linked in the course library. Learners can use the mobile app anytime and anywhere with or without internet connection. Learners will not spend more time for searching other learning resources offline or online. So as you notice, under the accessibility and feasibility, we already minimize or address the challenges of the students. So downloaded learning resources are accessible even there is a power interruption as long as their smartphones are charged. Available learning resources will help to minimize or lessen the challenges encountered by the students in distance learning, such as inadequate learning resources, vague learning content, since they do not vague. When you say vague, not clear learning contents. That's why they can use the learning resources from course library. Unlimited teacher scaffolds, since ano nga, module lang, papel lang, wala masyadong interaction with the teachers, and the learning resources provided by the teachers are limited. So in difficulty in coping with the lessons. So it will be easy for them to cope with the lessons if there are available learning resources. So in prototyping, so the body decided to choose one specific subject or area due to limited learning resources and capacity of the mobile app developers. Uh, Actually, developing of mobile application is too hard. At this course library, it will take 6 to 1 year if we are going to use coding na tinatawag. Yung mga code sa system or anong tawag doon? Programming. So instead, programming. So a teacher-made course library mobile app will be created using online mobile app developer, and the number of learning resources will depend on the number provided by the subject teachers. Maganda sana ito sa amin, sa school namin, because we have what we call coding education offered by the Phoenix Publishing Company or Incorporated. So the main objective of prototyping to create a prototype of a course library mobile application with Glide apps and Google Spreadsheet as database. So this Glide app is developing mobile apps with the use of Google Spreadsheet as the database. So chosen course or subject technology in livelihood education 7 or 8, since I already have ebooks or mga information sheets, PowerPoint presentations, and recorded videos. So para mas madali, gagamitin namin yung existing na. So needed materials, learning references such as teacher-made learning modules, books, reliable websites, and educational videos related to the subject matters. So in testing, so we have this process, mobile application development execution process. So requirement, we need to identify the storage capacity of the mobile app, the compatibility of Android of the application to Android and iOS smartphones, and setting up the audience or target audience, of course, teachers and students of TLE 7 or 8 exploratory degree of a chosen school or a specific school, whether here in Legazpi or out of the town. So platform, of course, smartphones or tablets. And next, mobile applications. So later, we have also process for mobile application testing process, the actual utilization of mobile in distance learning, and updating, taking feedbacks for improvement and addressing mobile app bugs before we publish it for making app live. Okay, this is under the mobile app testing process. So in this process, we have the presentation, evaluation, and review. For presentation, the app will be presented to a class or introduced to a class. Of course, learners' materials must be uploaded by the given objectives before formal use. Of course, we need to consider the learning competencies in uploading learning resources to our mobile application. Evaluation, data such as percentage of the students who use the app, the materials uploaded, the websites visited, and the classes are automatically recorded. Since there is a signing in or logging in, so those informations are recorded in Google spreadsheets. So another set of course learners will be evaluated without using the app to check effectivity or the luck of the luck thereof. So evaluation. So we will conduct a testing process with two different classes. Yung parang we have variable A with the use of mobile application and variable B without the use of mobile applications. Tapos iti-test natin kung ano yung pinagkaiba ng mga ng mga sagot nila so modules or based on our assessment. So reviews and responses from students will be noted down. It can also be reviewed within the application where they could rate and give suggestions. So I think that's all for our presentation. So the following references, we use this research to identify the difficulties, to add more, and the following links for the other data. Thank you so much for listening. So any comment or suggestions?
So do you have any comments or clarifications or questions, students, regarding the presentation of the group of Ms. Escucha? Feel free to ask or clarify. Anyone? Class, are you still there?
Yes po, sir. None po for me.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How about the rest? Meron po ba? May clarification po ba? Okay. If none, Mr. Escucha, I would like to commend or kudos to your group for the comprehensive and research-based output. Honestly speaking, I'm impressed. You did your research well. Kasi Sir Kenji po, I'm also a research professor and I see the variables, the data that you presented. Talagang nilagyan niyo talaga ng research ng touch ng research yung output niyo, which is talaga part of the design thinking process. So I have some questions for validation, or since I'm evaluating you, and not only this group ano, but the next presenters or the other groups. Mr. Escucha, can you hear me?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Um, can you tell us with your group, together with your members, your experiences in conducting this activity?
Actually, sir, without reading the ano the yung lecture notes, we are confused how to conduct the design thinking process.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, what we did, we just watch YouTube
Mm-hmm.
to understand more about design thinking process.
Mm-hmm.
And yung parang ang tawag siya, including researches sa aming presentation, parang naisip lang namin siguro mas maganda sana if meron kaming i-include na researches para mas reliable yung information na ibibigay namin. And meron kaming basis na what we are doing is for this, or we have parang what we are doing, meron kaming basis, parang this is for them, this is we come up with this information because of this research, or because of these existing challenges or existing data.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Mr. Escucha, can you tell us the story behind this library course mobile app? And may I know the contributions, or I will
Okay.
allow I will allow others, the members of the group to uh, state their inputs, or ano ba yung contributions nila regarding sa kanilang sa ginawa ninyong output. So go ahead, and I will also entertain the other members. So I'm validating your output while I'm validating your output. Sige po.
Actually, we we had made um we had made
2 times.
a document ano tawag? Google Docs,
Google Docs.
through Drive, where we can access that and share our ideas. Since busy busy kami, hindi kami makakandak ng virtual meetings. And gumawa kami ng Google, parang ang tawag doon, Google Docs.
Google Docs.
Google
Share
documents
document.
wherein all the group members can access it anytime, anywhere.
Mhm. Mhm. So meaning to say, instead of conducting a synchronous meeting, 'di ba, or a video chat or a call, you use an application, 'di ba, yung Google Docs. Kasi sa amin sa office, we openly use that if we have documents or papers needs to be submitted. Kasi sa amin, puro sa amin urgent eh. Dami sa amin piniprepare na very tasking talaga. So, para isahan na, somebody who owns the file or the document, i-share na lang. And sa Microsoft Office din, meron din po, di ba? Yung, if you are a user of 360, di ba? You can share and you can may tinatawag tayong collaboration, right?
Like 365.
Ay, 365 pala. Kulang ako ng 5. So, yung 365 na feature na meron doon, you can collab with the rest. Somebody can edit, somebody can add some inputs, right?
Yes po, sir.
So, maliban
So,
sa using a
gusto
group.
ko yung receipt po, sir.
Yes, Mr. Escucha?
Wala naman po, sir. So, I'm just sharing the receipt of our
Okay. Good. Ano ba aside, 'di ba, sa totoo lang, it's hard to perform a task with groups, right? Because of the availability of each other, since majority of us are working. But, 'di ba, it doesn't hinder you, at least sa grupo ninyo, to come up with this kind of activity. Okay, maliban doon, ano pa yung mga na-consider ninyo? Anyone from the group would like to tell us something aside from using Google Docs? Ano pa yung mga experiences ninyo? Yes, Ma'am
May
Losada?
I add
Sige po.
We also had 2 meetings through Google Meet for creating of ideas.
Mhm.
And Sir Janelle also shared us the PowerPoint presentation, and everybody input their ideas in the PowerPoint presentation. We collab in coming up with the PowerPoint presentation. So as we also collaborated in gathering the baseline data for us to come up with the project itself.
Okay. Sounds good. May I ask the rest? What are... Yes, miss?
Ay,
Wala,
sige,
wala,
sir, ikaw muna.
wala pa akong tanong. Sige.
Sige, sir.
Miss Rason, may pupuntahan ka ba?
Wala naman po, sir. Ano, dadagdag na sana kasi kay Ma'am Cheryl yung
Sige,
process
sige.
namin.
Padagdag.
How we,
Sige. You can add. Don't worry. You can add. Sige po. Go
ay,
ahead.
yun nga po. Same with Ma'am Cheryl po. We had 2 meetings. Ano na yun, middle of the night. Kasi yun lang yung time na available kami. Then, yun po, dagdag bawas po kami ng information. Yun po ang ginawa namin.
Okay. Ano pa yung mga challenges ninyo? Maliban sa, di ba, may barriers tayo sa communication, saka sa availability ng time. Ano pa? Ano pa yung mga na-encounter ninyong difficulty? So, yun lang ba?
Yung ano po, sir, kung saan siya i-apply, kung anong year level or kaya anong subject, those are the
Exactly.
hindrances po na pinag-usapan namin. And we decided na sa cookery na lang because majority of the group members are PL in nature. Yun po.
Oo, kasi nakita ko sa inyong presentation that your topic is about the new normal, ano? Yung new normal setup. And then nakita ko madami kayong problems na na-determine, right? Ito yung
Yes po,
pinaka
sir.
That's why in the define stage, it's a crucial part. Kasi parang out of the problems na na-formulate ay na-encounter, pipili kayo doon, right? I-specify kayo para mag-come up ng technology or solution para dyan.
Yes, sir. With that, sir, for me, I find it difficult po kasi meron kaming group members from DepEd wherein siya talaga yung nasa ground na nakikita niya, na-witness niya yung mga students niya kung paano nag-struggle when it comes to technology. Kasi, for example, ako, I am a private school teacher, same with Sir Junel, parang nasa ano kami, halos lahat ng students namin are capable to have their gadgets. Pero on the other hand, kaya na-balance po kasi meron kaming group members from DepEd na shinare niya sa amin yung struggle ng students. Kasi po at the end of this report, if mag-successful siya, ang magbe-benefit po talaga nito is yung mga students. Kaya very helpful na sa amin si Ma'am Sherry. Yan po.
Opo. Lovely, kagrupo ka ba nila, Junel?
Yes po, sir. So, bali, sir, kami po ni Ma'am Cheryl is from DepEd, and si Sir Junel and si Ma'am Emily naman is from private school, and si Sir Jake and si Sir Pao is from BU. So, connect lang namin, sir, yung mga idea namin para makabuo kami ng mga problems or nagkandak lang kami, sir, ng nagkandak kami ng research or yung mga possible na problems for the new normal. So, yun po, nagkakaisa lang po yung mga ideas namin. Tapos yung pinaka nabotohan namin is from sa DepEd kung ano po ba talaga ang problems ng mga students. Kasi yun nga po, di ba, yung kanina sabi ni Ma'am Emily na sa private school almost 100% are have gadgets, but in the DepEd school talaga po is almost mga 40% lang po. And yun nga, sir.
Yes, Sir Kenji. And this group activity is very helpful, especially to me kasi naging eye-opener ko sa akin na you cannot imply one rule tapos para sa lahat. Kasi yun nga po, naging eye-opener ko sa akin para malaman na there are students na talaga nag-struggle. There are less privileged students na kailangan nating i-level yung situation natin sa level nila. Yun po.
To reiterate what Miss Rason said, yung idea, yung sinabi niya kanina na to have an ideal classroom hindi po applicable yung sinasabi natin one size fits all. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
'Di ba? Iba yung nature or environment sa private, iba ang nature environment sa DepEd. Iba din yung approach sa secondary, iba din yung meron kami dito sa tertiary. So, though you have diverse ang environment ninyo, ang profession ninyo, though ang common denominator natin is we are in the academe, di ba? O nagtuturo tayo. Yun ang ating profession. So, it's really a challenge for working as a group with different personalities saka yung situation. Di ba? The good thing, one thing pa, I observed sa inyong output is may touch doon ng research eh. Mr. Asculta presented yung Social Weather Station Survey, yung SWS. And I know, pag mag-conduct kayo ng research, pwede nyo gamitin yun as part. Okay. Na regarding sa students' right, tama ba, Mr. Asculta? Yung ilang nga yung percent? I forgot the presentation na about sa gadgets ba yun? Sige.
Sa gadgets po. Nasa
58.
58% po, or 6 out of 10 students.
Yun.
Almost 60%.
Kasi if you are working on a topic or study, magandang lagyan, particularly sa introduction ninyo na dapat meron kayong findings, significant findings, or a legal basis for implications just to support your claim. Hindi pwede kasi sa research puro hearsays lang eh. Hindi pwede puro marites lang yung ating mga pinagagawa o pinagsasabi. May I ask Mr. Delgado and together with Mr. Prades, Lovely, hindi pa maka-access si Mr. Prades.
Okay na po, sir.
Is he around? Hindi ko makita eh. Wala, I think. Wala.
Yes po, nandyan po, sir.
Nandyan ba dito? Nandyan sa tabi mo?
Nandito, sir, sa Google Meet po.
Okay, sige. Jake, Jake, Jose Delgado, after the activity, what have you realized in conducting this design thinking?
Yan. Sir, honestly, sir, bulan-bulanan lang ako din, sir. In-adapt lang nila ako last week kasi na-late ako sa kanila pagpasok. Absent ako last meeting. Then nagulat na lang ako na ang dami ng mga answers doon sa questions na ginawa nila, guide questions regarding the 5 stages design thinking. And sabi ko, ano kaya kung mag-a-add pa ako? Kasi ang dami na. And then, napakaganda po talaga. Nahiya na ako kung nahiya ako sa rin ako na konti lang yung na-add ko sa At sa ganun pa man, it's really true na yung mga nasabi kanina ng mga struggles of the students sa DepEd is nararanasan ng mga students. But not only in DepEd, I can say that even in CHED ay nararanasan din po sa CHED in college na may mga ganong struggles pagdating sa mga learning materials, learning resources. Sometimes as teaching in college, we are using also other references, not only from our syllabus or from our books, but in other references like, for example, sa YouTube, mga YouTube videos. So, napakaganda talaga ng idea na nagawa namin regarding the making of learning yung app o mobile app. So, through it, hindi na mahirapan ng estudyante in finding, even the teachers finding references para ibigay din sa mga students. So, yun po. Yun po ang aking na-realize dito sa aming grupo.
Okay? Thank you, Mr. Delgado. How about Mr. Prades? Ah, is he around? So sorry po. May, okay. So I think you can, I'll be asking you the same thing, Mr. Prades. You can chat or message na lang sa ating comment section. Your own viewpoints or insights gained after the activity. So while Mr. Prades is nagme-message siya or nagta-type siya, actually I agree with Mr. Delgado na hindi lang po yung secondary. Lahat naman tayo eh. Lahat naman is affected because of this pandemic, di ba? The education system, the health system natin, and then yung work, lahat affected by this pandemic. Actually, uh, honestly speaking, uh, um, sa College of Industrial Technology, we are having this problem also. Lalong-lala yung mga graduating namin. Diba? Yung mga portion namin ngayon, they will be having their OGT. Apparently, yung TED, yung mga top management still uh, uh, having difficulty on how to start. Okay? Um, if you will observe, midterm is fast approaching. Ang aming schedule is next week, so 17 to 19. Oh. Tama ba? Let me check. 17 to 19. Yeah, mga 16 to 18 ata yung aming midterm exam. Okay? So, yung problem pa namin is uh, hindi pa nakakapag-start mag-OGT yung mga students namin. In the case of electronics, yung electrical technology, good for them. They identified mga company or shop or industry na pwedeng mag-OGT yung mga students. I think Delgado knows about it. In the case of electronics technology, pahirapan sa amin eh. Wala sa amin nag-accept, walang company nag-accept sa mga students because as of now, wala pa, ang tawag ito, hindi pa lifted yung suspension. Nasa level 2 pa rin tayo. Kasi as far as I know, may mga requirements pa na hinihingi yung IETF and then the mga LGUs regarding sa lifting of level 2. And I don't know if on March 16 onwards maging level 1 na tayo. Wala pa ako naririnig na news or kasi pag level 1 na, meaning to say, there will be limited face-to-face classes. Hindi pa sa kabuuan. We're not sure about it. Going back, in the case of electronics technology, we had a meeting before. Ano ba yung mga year level and what subject in particular ang allowed na mag face-to-face classes? Kasi as the program advisor, I just want to make sure hindi pwedeng full blown agad. Okay, level 1 na. Lahat kayo pumagsipasukan na. With the population sa amin. And then yung aming yung building namin medyo hindi siya kalakihan masyado to accompany students. And hindi lang yung electronics technology ang gumagamit. Sa first floor, we have the Fab Lab and automotive. Sa second floor, pero yung automotive ngayon may bagong building sa kabila. Yung second floor, ito yung kila Mr. Delgado, yung electrical technology. Sa amin, nasa third floor kami, nasa pinaka-top kami, yung electronics. Okay. So, I decided na isang subject intended for second year students. Kasi ang napag-usapan is dapat subjects with laboratory. Pero yun nga, hindi pa rin allow yung students to go to school premises or to visit our building kasi hindi pa lifted yung aming yung suspension ng ating ng level 2. So, yun po ang aming struggle ngayon. Una, hindi pa maka-start ng OGT yung ating mga estudyante because hindi pa lifted yung level 2. Second, walang company sa amin sa electronics technology ang nag-accept ng OJT. Meron sana, pero national. Okay, on a national level. Yung mga company kagaya ng Samsung, nag-offer na sila that they will allow students to conduct their OJT. Ito naman yung problem namin, yung mga parents. We cannot force them. Diba? Kasi nag-aaladan yung parents kasi they are not yet sure. And ito pa yung tanong, if there's something happen to student, diba? While he or she is attending classes sa PUSIT or while he or she is having OJT, who will be held liable if in case nagkasakit or nag-diagnose with COVID yung estudyante. Diba? Yun ang problema. Yung iba, para naghuhugas din kamay na siyempre, kung sino yung facilitator, siyempre, ang accountable niyan is the college, of course. Okay. So, that's why may mga restrictions pa rin, may mga bagay dapat kami i-comply and i-consider before the start. But the problem is, kailan pa? Next week, midterm na. And another concern pa is for BTB-TED students who will undergo with their practice teaching or experiential learning. Up to now, wala pa rin. Wala pa rin makakapagsabi na they can now start. And probably the alternative solutions or parang remedy sana with regards to if electronics technology hindi makapag-conduct ng OJT yung mga estudyante, the second the remedy for the meantime sana is going school-based. So meaning to say, there is a possibility na mag-OJT yung mga students dito sa atin, sa Busit. Baka may mga activity ipagawa or another siguro pang intervention is um, home base maybe the OJT facilitator together with the faculty or the department will help one another by siguro coming up with a series of virtual meetings ata. Parang ganun yung setup. We will be inviting speakers from other companies to give us insights or wisdom about the nature of work, about so yun ang mga possible na mangyayari in case hindi pa lifted yung ating hindi pa lifted ng IATF from level 2 to level 1. So I hope and pray that everything goes to normal. Ito kasi yung mga problems na kinakaharap ng aming mga students now. Na aside from that, later on, di ba? These graduates na product ng online, what will happen to them after they graduated? Di ba? Based on our assessment, since na naging estudyante natin sila, ano ba yung magiging future nila? Kayo, naisip nyo rin po ba? Ano ba yung magiging future ng ating mga estudyante kapag product sila ng online? Diba? Parang based on my analysis, parang hindi sufficient. And I know I'm guilty of it na we cannot really mobilize. We cannot, meron tayong mga restrictions eh. So, with this modality, these are just temporary. Pero, as what the group of Askucha na-mention nila, ang dami kasing problema eh sa ating system, sa ating educational landscape because of this challenging time, kagaya ng COVID. Diba? It's a challenge for us, but as what they said, as what the group said, according to DepEd, learning must continue. Diba? It should never end. There should be a continuity by doing such preventions. Siguro, one of you here, using the design thinking could solve a problem. How to improve our educational system, lalong-lalo na nasa new normal setup tayo. And kahit na maging normal, itong blended learning, magiging na natin ito part. Diba? Kasi yung COVID is considered now as endemic eh. Endemic na to. Parang part na to sa atin. Okay? Sige. So, that's, again, the group of Askucha. Kudos to your group and for an impressive output. Okay? So let us now proceed to the yes po sir, it's very helpful for the students na nahihirapan humanap ng source for their topic. So, ito yung mga struggle ng mga students, right? Isa sa mga problems na na-encounter nila uh, sa ating learning modality. So, can we now proceed to the next group? Uh, sino po yung magpe-present? Any volunteer? Anong grupo na po? Okay. Si Miss Calleja. Lahat po kayo tatawagin grupo ano? Ang sabi ko sa inyo, itong subject na to, output based. Ayaw ko kayo pumapasok dito sa baw. Bawal ito ang tambay. Sige. So, Miss Calleja, you can now proceed with your output.
Okay po, good afternoon once again. I will present our output for a while po.
Sige. Mga ilang araw po yan?
A few moments later.
2 seconds.
Sige, okay na.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
So, good afternoon once again, Ma'am and Sir. So, this is our output for design thinking. I would acknowledge also my members, my team, Sir Jaben, Sir Engineer Cyberg, Sir Henry, and Sir Jecon Meralo. So, before we conduct this idea, since my team are from TESDA and me is affiliated in CHED, we have to communicate properly with the problems that we encounter. So, using these 5 steps of design thinking, which is the empathize, design, ideate, and prototype, and the last is the test, we come up with this idea na very common sa amin na problem that we face with our students and with our field. So here is the abstract. This is a thought na nag-base kami. So in TESDA, they are required na all courses registered in TESDA will conduct competency-based curriculum. So with this, a curriculum that emphasizes the complex outcome of learning process, which is the knowledge, the skills, and attitudes to be applied by learners, rather than mainly focusing on what learners are expected to learn about in terms of traditionally defined subject content. According to the report also, the objective of competency-based education is to prepare individuals, particularly the students, for the challenges of the future, empower students with knowledge and skills in various fields of study in a flexible educational program tailored to each student. So this idea also came from the competency-based assessment that refers to any tool that is used to measure the observable behaviors that successful performers demonstrate while working on any given job. These behaviors are the result of various ability, knowledge, motivations, the traits and skills an individual or employee may possess. So with this idea, nakapag-come up kami ng isang solution na magbibigay answer sa aming mga common problems. So first, the first stage was to empathize. So my team would like to develop an offline testing system that learners may use without requiring an internet connection and that can be completed in a short amount of time. So based sa pag-uusap namin through Google Meet with my team, sa part nila, ginagawa nila ang curriculum-based assessment na medyo mahaba yung process. So with that idea, nakapag-come up kami, nagagawa kami ng offline testing system which can be which will the result makikita siya agad-agad in a short period of time. So malilesan yung mama-maximize namin na time with the use of this tool. So sa define, Ito na po, administering and checking of departmental test for basic and common competencies consumes a lot of hours in the process and wasting important hours which can be utilized in other tasks in different competencies. So we have created common questions with us. What could be done to automate the test and design a low profile system which will produce the result outright? So we have here the ideate. With that question, nakapag-come up kami ng tool which does not require internet connection, which does not require high computer specs, and the result will come up in just a small amount of time. So the group wished to develop a departmental offline test for basic and common competencies utilizing a low profile system which does not require internet connection and high computer specs. So we have here our prototype. So in this phase, my team or our team decided or started to create a draft using Excel wherein the user can access the file easily without using internet connection. So my team also decided to utilize a spreadsheet that can be coded to construct test questions and create formulas to generate the result with 80% passing mark. The test will immediately display the result once the result button is pressed by the end user. So the adjectival rating will be displayed as competent or not yet competent. So once you pass the rating, which is the 80%, may lalabas po na result na you are competent. And if your result below 80% passing mark, so may lalabas din po na you're not yet competent. So we have here the draft of our prototype. In this area, once na si end user inopen niya na yung file, which is the Excel file, he or she must include her name in this area, and then he or she can proceed na answering the test. And then after, may mag-a-appear po dito na number, etong number, kung ilan na po yung na-answeran niya. So, dapat makakome up siyang 15 items na answered, and then after that, he or she must click the result, and then the result will come up in just minimal time. So, with that idea, I can, in my field, ito na po yung result. Kapag black po yung background, means you're not yet competent. So you have to study or read read material so that mas ma-answeran mo yung test with a passing mark. So kapag red naman, you are competent and congratulations. And then after the test, in this phase, the prototype will be tested by the users in a real-life context throughout the testing phase. In this phase, we can now determine whether it is effective or not. So the design thinking process concludes here. If the user is satisfied with the prototype, the design thinking process will end. But if the user is dissatisfied, the team will repeat the process while taking the feedback into consideration. So it's very vital na yung mga comment and suggestion din ng mga users, we must take consideration with that. So also I have to mention my team that kung wala naman po yung cooperational, we cannot make this prototype successful. So Sir Jben is for coding and myself for testing. We have Engineer Cyberg for quality assurance and Sir Henry for the set of questions, and si Sir Jeko naman is for design and visuals. So the process of making this prototype is the fruit of our cooperation, participation with each other, and syempre yung proper communication. So I have to show you a sample or the video on how does the end user can activate or use the Excel file. Okay, so for a while po, I think my system is lagging. Oh my God. For a moment po. Sorry. Let me share once again the video. Okay. So this is the process. You must include first your name, and then you can now answer the set of questions that is included in the test. You have to finish the questions, and then after that, wait lang. Since it is 15 items, so dito mag-a-appear kung ilan ng items yung na-answeran mo. Okay, so we have 4 items already, and then 5. Okay. So medyo matagal po. Wait lang. 7, 8, 10. Okay. Then after that, once you click the result button, it will show your correct answer. And then if you are competent or not yet competent. So that is the end of our presentation. May I stop sharing na? Okay. Thank you so much everyone for listening, and syempre I would like to thank my members also. So if you have any questions or clarifications with our presentation, it is open for ano naman po, for questions.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Calleja and company with another interesting output. Yeah, and it is also impressive yung ginawa ninyong output. May I ask, Sir Jben, yung ginawa ninyong
Yes, sir.
offline testing, ginagamit ba yan sa TESDA ngayon?
Hindi pa po, sir. Hindi pa po.
Mm.
Actually, start pa lang po ako ng
Kasi I'm just curious with your...
development, pero hindi pa po siya ginagamit kasi kailangan pa siyang higher ups.
Sir, I'm just curious with the tool that you use Excel, di ba? Sure, legit ba yan, sir, na offline talaga yung pag-test ng isi-send mo yung file, tapos once na mayroong power issues or interruption, pwede sila sumagot doon? Sir Jben, can you follow? Sir?
Sir, sorry, sir, na ako. Medyo nawala. Hello, sir. Hello,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Medyo nawala, sir, yung ano ko. Can you please repeat, sir, the question, please? Yes.
Regarding sa tool na ginamit mo, yung Excel, di ba? Yung offline testing. So, the student can use that using the Excel file. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, yung spreadsheet namin na gagamitin namin, naka-design siya sa hindi siya through online. So face-to-face po ang gamit namin. Kasi sa amin sa TESDA, competency-based training po kami. Hindi siya sabay-sabay mag-exam. So once na ready ng student, they can submit themselves for assessment. That's the time that they can take the examination. So as you can see from the prototype, wala po siyang numbers para hindi nila ma-recognize and ma-memorize yung mga questions. So hindi nila alam kung saan sila nagkamali. So with that, babalik sila, mag-aaral ulit sila. Kung babalikan nila yung mga lessons para ma-met nila yung passing mark. So yun po ang design namin. Kasi wala siyang parang counter na hanggang 3 attempts ka lang. So hindi po kami ganoon sa TESDA. Kailangan yung mastery. So sa paulit-ulit na pag-exam nila, makukuha nila yung mastery sa specific subject. So yun po ang design namin.
Okay. Sige. So, another question, sir, regarding sa inyong testing tool. Yung questions nyo ba,
Yes,
limited, may limit ba siya? Or Depende sa type po, kung short or long quiz pa siya or short quiz pa siya, pwede din, sir.
Kasi ang mga courses kasi sa amin, sir, yung competency namin, divided siya into 3 areas.
Yung
Basic
basic,
competency,
common,
common competency,
core.
and core competency, which is the specific sa the core subjects na po, sir. So
Mm.
itong basic competency, true to all, lahat ng courses sa TESDA pare-pareho ang basic competency. And
Ah,
yung common naman, ang common competency subjects, pare-pareho naman yung common subjects sa mga courses na the same trades. Like for example, ICT, electronics, pare-pareho po ang common ng subjects nila. And maliban, iba naman yung hard trade, which is automotive, welding, and so on and so forth. So, pwede kami mag-departmentalize examinations para mas madali yung process. Yung core subjects, yun na yung yung mga specialized subjects na exclusive or naka-design para lang sa mga specific course. So, hindi siya pare-pareho.
So, yung testing tool nyo, sir, intended po siya or ginagamit siya for objective type, kagaya ng multiple choice, identification, true or false. Is it applicable po, sir?
Usually, sir, ang content niya is kinuha lang doon sa competency-based learning materials, mga information sheets na binabasa nila. So doon din kami kumukuha ng exam. So para mas madali yung pag-measure namin ng kanilang understanding, multiple choice po ang ginagamit.
Multiple choice.
Yes po, multiple choice. Iba naman po kasi yung sa actual kasi hindi namin makikita yung kanilang hindi namin measure kung hindi nila actual or practical examination. So, dito lang kami, sir, nag-focus muna sa knowledge part para ma-measure.
So, let me reiterate, sir, your testing tool na didevelop ninyo ng team is gagamitin siya during the face-to-face. So, hindi siya pwede. Sige, sir.
Yes po, sir. Intended po siya, sir, sa face-to-face. Hindi po siya sa
online.
Online learning. Yes po. Kasi mahirap, sir, pag online, madaming mas matrabaho pag online, and then yung mga factors pa na nakaka-affect sa quality ng not actually quality but yung mga common problems natin, yung connection problems, specs of the computers. So yun po, sir, ang nakaan sa amin. Kumbaga yun yung focus namin na ma-address.
Okay. So meaning to
sa
say,
research natin.
Apo. So meaning to say,
prototype pa.
Apo. Meaning to say, if the students will conduct the exam or the test, so siyempre, a PC or desktop is required. Right?
Yes, sir.
So one student, one computer. So doon sila sasagot using spreadsheet. Using the spreadsheet. So with regards naman sa authenticity, not authenticity, sa security ng inyong program or tool na gagamitin. Pwede ba siya madaya or pwede ba siyang magalaw? Kasi 'di ba sa Excel mayroon tayong macro. Yung mga yung lang kwan diyan. How are we going to do that para at least 'di ba nagpapa-exam ka while conducting, kinakalikot or kino-coding na ng estudyante yung kwan.
Yes, sir. So actually, sir, yes po. Ang ginawa ko, sir, yung coding part, tinago ko, sir. So, si Ma'am Jemeline can attest to that kasi trinay na, hinahanap niya yung codes, hindi niya mahanap. Kasi protected po yung spreadsheet and nilagyan ko ng mga securities para hindi, ang pwede lang nilang i-click yung result, yung name nila, saka yung answers. Yun lang po ang pwede nilang ma-access during testing. So, meron po kami security sa namin.
Thank you, sir. Kasi
welcome, sir.
Kasi class, I'm saying this kasi kasi alam ko ang iba sa inyo gumagamit ng Google Form. Tama po ba? In conducting your midterm and final exam. Yes or no? Even short quiz. Pa-confirm po. Gumagamit ba kayo ng Google Form? And don't you know na ang Google Form po, pag nagpa-exam ka mo objective type, multiple choice, identification, not subjective ha, pwede po yan madaya. Okay? Binabalaan ko na para at least aware kayo. Kung kita mga faculty or teacher, arupuan kita sa mga ganyan na medyo techy kita, pero I know there are some na bako man masyadong savvy sa technology. And don't you know na ang Google Form ang daling dayain, diba? I can share you a video or I can give you a sample. Kasi may tinatype dyan eh. May tinatawag tayong elements. Yes po. May tinatawag tayong elements. May itatype ka lang na certain code. Pag open mo, I think, shortcut key lang yan eh. Nakalimutan ko. Shortcut key ka, pag once na pinindot mo yon, lalabas yung mga elements. Yung mga numbers, yung mga percent, kumbaga, mga code. And may part doon, mahaba siya eh. May part doon, makikita mo yung mga sagot, yung tinype mo answer. Kasi in terms of exam, kahit pa paano class, nadadaya din yan eh. Kaya I have doubts with the validity of. I noticed this last year. Kasi ako, usually, nagpapa-exam ako using Google Form. And I noticed, mga estudyante ko, kadaklan, perfect. Maski di mo nag-attend online class, di mo nag-klase. Kaya, tinanggal ko na yung picture na, 'di ba, after the exam, makikita mo yung answers mo, yung what. I even removed that. But still, kaya baga minsan you are wondering ang tataas ng grade ng mga students ngayon sa now that we are in pandemic or one. Kasi yung Google, I suggest in terms of for the validity of exam or quiz, kindly double check, pag-aralan nyo. Hindi, for me kasi hindi na advisable yung Google Form eh. Okay. Nadadaya po yan. And may mga TikTok videos na yan, may sa social media, pinakita kung paano madaya yung Google Form exam. Diba? Lalong-lalo na kung mag-e-exam ka mo multiple choice, identification, true or false, makikita po agad yung sagot. Okay? So, I hope you understand. This is just a warning to everyone na gumagamit ng Google Form. And di ba nakwento ko dati last year, meron na tayong mga Facebook groups, di ba? Lalo na sa mga secondary, yung gumagawa ng mga module. Merong mga group of students, group of people na binibigay o sinishare yung sagot sa isang grupo. It was na-feature siya sa isang news, sa isang national, sa isang TV. So, ganun pala. Nalaman ko doon na ganun katindi ang mga Pinoy in terms of daya. Diba? Kahit ang module, kahit ang pag-aaral, nadadaya na din pala. Okay? Just serve as a reminder po, especially for faculty who are teaching in tertiary or sa college na gumagamit. Kasi sa amin, sa BU, ang ginagamit namin definitely Google Classroom. Lahat ng Google Suite applications, mostly yan ang ginagamit namin. We use the Jamboard, the Google Meet. Kagaya ngayon, we use yung Google Meet. Right? So, careful lang tayo sa pag-conduct ng examinations. Alam naman natin, pinaghirapan natin yan eh. So, kahit paano, we should aim for the quality, not for the, di ba? Because of, this the new modern way of cheating ng mga estudyante ngayon eh. Kaya, lalo na kapag ang estudyante magaling sa coding, magaling sa programming. Lalo yung mga ML player, mga ML students, magaling sa madali yan mahanap. Estudyante pa ngunyan, mas adaptive sa technology compared to us. Okay? So, Miss Jemeline, may I ask, what are the challenges you encountered, or with not just only you, but may I know from the other group or the other members of the group while doing this activity? Anyone?
Ako sir, for me, before we come up with the idea, I have really a struggle on how can I integrate my field with my co-members or my colleagues. But nung nagka-idea ako na how can I assess my student through their technical skills, more on labs din po kasi kami through their designs. Na-share ko naman sa kanila yon. And then after that, sila din, meron din na competency-based na curriculum. So I think that's the perfect idea na for us to have this kind of prototype.
Hmm. Kasi for the information of everyone, si Miss Calea is a product of BID sa Busit. Kasi ang Busit merong 8 courses. BID stands for Bachelor's of Industrial Design. Okay? Yan na design thinking, pwede sa na tigagamit. Di ba? Kila Miss Calea, even sila Mayor, uh, her former classmate, sa batch din niya, also naging student ko din dito sa production of ABH devices. They are familiar with the 5 phases and stages. Kasi before they come up with a prototype, with their project, with their material, or with their output, they use this kind of method. And they're common to this one, to this process. So thank you, Miss Calleja. Who else?
Thank you po.
Who else po? Who are the other members? May I know, aside from Sir Jaben and...
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sir Henry.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Sige po.
Sir, sa akin po, sir, bali yung sinabi din ni Ma'am Calleja. So, before, yung challenge talaga sa amin is, si Ma'am Calleja is from TRED. So, kaming apat ni Sir Carretero, ni Sir Miralo, and ni Engineer Ribiada is from TESDA. But, ganun pa man na kaming apat ay belong sa isang institution or agency dito sa SFIS or yung San Francisco. Pero ang katunayan po, sir, is halos hindi din kami nagkita-kita sa loob ng isang araw. Iba-iba kasi po, sir, yung tinuturuan namin, and then maybe nag-meet lang kami siguro pag mag-biometrics, lunch, after lunch, and siguro pag-uwian. So nag-come up din kami ng ideas is dahil nga dun sa Google Meet na lang siguro, sir. So bali kung mapapansin din po natin sa presentation, kung merong mga naka-assign, like for example Ma'am Calleja, naka-assign siya for testing, ako is for set ng questions, si Sir Carretero is for coding. So yun yung naging namin, parang naka-focus kami doon. So like for example sa akin, kung babalikan po natin, sir, yung question with Sir Carretero, kung ano yung types of questions na nandoon sa project, is naka multiple choice po siya, which is nakabase po siya doon, lalo na po sa amin sa TESDA. Ang binabasehan po namin or kumukuha po kami ng mga questions is doon po sa CBLM po namin or yung competency based learning materials. So para ma-check din po namin kung yung mastery ng aming mga learners. So yun po, sir.
Kasi di ba, Sir Henry, sa inyo, sa TESDA, di ba may tatlong competencies kayo, right? The basic, the common, and core. So yung mga questions nyo, sir, na-develop nila Sir Jaben, di ba, as what he said, di ba, kung doon siya kumukuha, kasi common, di ba, is for, di ba, yung basic pala, I mean, di ba, yung mga multiple choice questions, kasi as far as I know, it's more on personality ata, di ba, sir? Kapag magiging employee sa inyong, kasi parang in preparation, di ba? Ba, Sir Jaben? Yung basic, mga attitudes ba, sir? Character development ba ang nasa loob ng basic? Kagaya ng work in a
yes, sir, kasama po siya doon. Usually diba? Yung mga practice
Opo.
Yes, sir. Work in team environment, practice communication, work in workplace, and ganyan, sir.
Okay. How about you, Sir Miralo? What is your contribution po as part of the team nila Miss Calleja?
Hello, sir. Sa design po ako, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And then po, sir, sa idea na rin, sir. Kasi kami, sir, sa TESDA, competency-based training ang kinakandak po namin.
Mm-hmm.
So, mini-measure po namin base sa knowledge, skills, and attitude. Para po, sir, mas mapadali, sir, yung pag-measure namin sa knowledge, nag-come up po kami dito sa itong prototype namin. Kasi sir, kung magpo-focus kami sir sa kung babantayan namin lagi yung estudyante kung mag-cheating sila pag mag-e-exam, di ba sir, kung itong prototype, mas madali na namin ma-check yung estudyante. And pagdating naman sir sa skills, so doon namin sir malalaman kung related ba, kung nakapag-review ba talaga sila o nakuha nila yung knowledge. Kasi doon ang babasehan namin sir sa skills. So
Okay.
mas mapapadali sir yung pag-assess namin sa estudyante para pumunta na siya sir sa ibang competency. Kasi sir, competency-based training, once na natapos na yung isang competency, so pwede na siyang pumunta sa isa ulit na competency. So para mas mapadali sir yung pag-check namin.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Meralo. But I have a question na naisip ko lang ngayon. This is for the test the people. Estudyante kayo sa TESDA, di ba? This is for the TESDA community. Paano kayo, di ba sir, ang natin, ang mga competency nyo is purely technology, right? And as we know, technology progresses from time to time. Yung mga questions nyo, sir, yung mga competency nyo ba, sir, nag-upgrade din or nagde-develop in response
Yes
to
sir.
yung time? Sige po, sir. Can you give me an idea? Paano ba nyo minomodify? Kasi dati, yung IPAS, bawa sa akin, sa electronics, dati ang tawag dyan, Consumer Electronic Servicing. Now, IPAS na, di ba? Electronics Product Assembly. Paano kayo, sir, nagkakaroon ng parang agreement or how do you nag-upgrade kayo ng mga competencies? Can you tell us more about it? Anyone? Sir Meralo? You said,
Base kasi sir sa pagkakaalam ko sir,
Mhm.
merong sir mga tinatawag na technical expert and tinitingnan nila sir kung applicable pa ba yung tinatawag naming training regulation doon sa present na innovation. So once na pag tiningnan nila na parang obsolete na sir yung training regulation, minamigrate nila sir para ma-improve yung training regulation, and then nagkakaroon sir ng migration sa assessment para mapunan sir yung pagkukulang nung old training regulation.
Okay. So, ganun pala. So, parang there are technical experts based on what you've said na who will determine na if itong competency na to is parang out of date or obsolete or pa-phase out na. Kasi I remember, ang una kong NC na nakuha is yung sa computer. Yung mga offices. Anong tawag nga nun? Are you familiar, sir? Yung sa Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, paggamit ng internet. Kasi di ba meron nun na competency sa TESDA? Nakalimutan ko yung tawag dun eh. So, ang isa naman is
PCO yun, sir. PCO.
yan PCO dati. So ngayon yung electronics dati parang consumer electronics ang tawag eh. Before siya ay bago siya naging IPAS. Okay. So Sir Cyberg, are you around? Sir Cyberg, can I ask some questions for validation po? Sir Cyberg, are you there?
Sir?
Okay. Can you hear me po, Sir Cyberg?
Sir? Yes, sir. Ako po, narinig niyo po ako, sir?
Yes po, narinig kita. Sir, can I
Okay po, sir. Sir, bali sige po.
sige, ikaw muna. Ikaw muna, sir. Go ahead.
Bali, sir, maliban po, sir, sa contribution ko sa quality assurance, with the target po na simplicity, if accessible siya, and if protected. So, as Sir Jayben said earlier na protected po siya, hindi siya nadadaya, and yung simplicity and accessible is na madali po siyang magamit ng trainees and madali pong maintindihan. So yung ano po namin, nagkaroon po kami ng definition po ng problem is kasi po sa amin sir, yung basic and common competency, especially po sa akin sa qualification ko na driving NC2 na meron lang pong 15 days na training. So yung basic and common po sir, if mapofokusan siya or bibigyan siya ng oras, kasama po doon yung pag-print ng papel, pag-check ng papel, and yung process pa po noon is na babawasan po yung 15 days na training na makaka-focus sana sa core competency, lalo na po sa drive light vehicle. So, yun po rin yung naisip ko na nakapagsang-ayon ako doon sa aming nagawang prototype. So, ganun po yung naging target namin po, sir.
Okay. Sir Cyborg, last question ko lang po sa imo. Regarding po sir sa activity natin, what have you realized or insights gained after conducting the design thinking process?
Siguro sir, yun po, dahil po doon is nakapag-formulate po kami ng mas accessible po, na mas madali po, hindi lang po sa part namin, pati sa part po ng trainees, as a part po mismo ng qualification training as a whole, na mas napapadali po or mas napapaganda pa yung training na nangyayari po.
Okay. Sige. So, by the way, ito bang design thinking, is this new to you? Except kay Miss Kalia na concept? Sa TESDA po, ginagamit nyo po ba to? Is this your first time na ginamit nyo tong principle or process? Anybody from the TESDA people would like to react? Hello? Will I repeat the question? Hello, everyone.
Yes, sir.
So, is this new to you, sir? Na ganitong concept?
Yes po, sir. Wala pang ginamit na ganyan sa kahit saang same area ng TESDA institutions. So, bago lang po ito sa amin.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, yes po.
Okay. So, again, kudos to the works of Jeneline Calleja. Congratulations po. Impressive din po yung output na pinakita ninyo. Kasi, kung nga naman, lagi tayo nag-online. Diba? Sa ating level, sa tertiary, puro kami online. Pero, ito pa yung isa pang dilemma natin. Diba? The authenticity of the answers and then halos parehas din. Kahit modular type or modality ang gamit natin, still nadadaya pa rin. Kahit nga sa online, as I've said, kapag hindi nalagyan ng security feature ang inyong Google Form, nadaya pa rin. Okay? So, sometimes, ang iba, mag-excuse na, sir, can I ask for an extension? Diba? Later on, na-found out mo, perfect na pala yung exam. So, these are the challenges that we are facing. Not just the mode of delivery, na ganito, pag I give instructions or nagko-conduct tayo ng synchronous meeting natin based on the feedback or na binigay nila group of escucha regarding sa internet problems or difficulty, diba? Minsan frequent power interruptions, diba? And yung geographical location ng learner. So, talagang nakaka-hassle din sa atin. And ito pa yung sad part. Kami mga teachers or faculty sa Busit, nagpapakapuyat po kami. And hindi lang po kami even kayo. Kasi we are of the same wavelength. Pare-pares po tayo nagtuturo. We are busy preparing the materials, the lessons, even the exams. And once we implemented or binigay na natin sa mga estudyante, minsan mababa yung results. Minsan yung mga estudyante natin ang daming excuses. Kaya sir, hindi ako makapag-online, makapag-exam. Okay? So these are the difficulties that we encounter sa ating modality or setup. Since we have limited time, may I ask the next group who are the other groups na magpe-present? And I saw the message of Sir Blaser, Sir Romel. Are you around po? Andyan ka na po ba?
Yes po, sir. Andito na po.
Sir, wala ka pong kagrupo?
Wala po, sir. Pero okay na yun, sir. Mag-individual na lang po kasi nakagawa na pa ako ng output.
Sige. Next meeting na lang po siguro since we have limited time. Yung ibang grupo po, sino pang hindi pa tapos? So para at least organize tayo. May I know the other groups?
Kami po. Kami po sir, group din
Sino
and
kagrupo?
Ma'am Noelma.
Sino mga kagrupo mo? Server din.
Ma'am Zaira de la Cruz.
Who else?
Sir Kim Canwell and yan lang sir.
Apat lang kayo.
5 po kami. 5.
5, sorry.
5 po kami sir.
Sige.
Ako po si Ma'am Noelma. Yes sir. Next meeting na lang sir.
Opo. Yung iba, so Miss Briobo. Miss Briobo, may groupings ka na po ba? Hello?
Hello, sir?
Yes.
Yes po, meron na po. Sila Sir Cyberge po.
Cyberge. I don't saw your name.
Ay, Sir Victor. Rather, sorry.
I didn't saw your name sa grupo nila.
Sorry, Sir Victor and Sir Henry po.
I didn't saw Mr. Victor. Andito po siya? Sir Victor?
Actually po, sir, tinatry niya mag-connect. Pero mahina daw po yung signal sa kanila. 2 bars lang. So, nagko-communicate lang po kami, sir, via messenger. Pero same with, ano po. Yes po, sir.
Ano yung kuha ninyo? Yung inyong design thinking title? Meron na ba?
Meron na po, sir.
Ano nga?
Saan na yun? Ano po, sir, ang title ng sa idea namin is Project Star Motivational Progress Monitoring Tool.
Okay. Sige. And class, before we end up, thank you, Miss Briobo. Before we end up, have you identified already? Kasi po, magmi-midterm na tayo next week. Pero don't worry we don't have a midterm. As I've said, your output will be your midterm and final at the same time requirement. So, 3 po ang target niyan, ang makukuha niyo yan. Okay? So, may I ask, any updates with your IM or instructional material that you're going to do? Meron na po ba? Why silent po? Any?
Hello, sir.
Yes? Go ahead po.
May nag-fill up na po ako doon, sir, sa doon po, sir, sa link. May yung na-post po sa GC.
Pero i-clear ko lang. Baka ang isipin ninyo when I say instructional material, isang topic lang. Hindi po ganun. Let's say ngayon the topic is on, let's say you're teaching electronics technology. Ang subject mo is fundamentals of electricity. So, ang topic mong gagawin is just introduction to electricity. Hindi po ganun. Kaya nga sabi ko, 3 ang plan pa lang po, sir. Okay. 3 ang makukuha nyo dyan pag natapos nyo yan. Una, that will be your midterm and final requirement. Midterm and final exam. We don't have any exams. Unless kung mag-request ka mo, walang problema. So, nasa Indo yan. Ma-exam kita? Yuda ayaw nyo sige.
Hindi po.
No, sir.
Hindi po. Okay na po.
Okay, sige.
No, sir.
Even okay. Ma'am Vilma, you are raising your hand po. You are recognized. Any reaction, ma'am? You can unmute your audio. Baka napindot ata ni Ma'am Vilma. Okay, Junel, do you have any plans regarding to your project?
Good afternoon, sir. Bala ko sana, sir, ituloy yung ano namin.
Yung app, are you sure?
Yes po.
Sige. I will approve. Actually, medyo, yan ang nitty-gritty dyan sa gagawin mo programming, yung programming na gagawin. Unless kasi may mga program kasi na user-friendly. Diba? May mga drag and drop na lang dyan Or, talagang C++ ang gagamitin mo. Or yung programming for mobile app ang gagamitin. Kasi may mga template naman siguro yan Diba?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Sa bagay, meron kang Infinix dyan sa inyo. Maybe you can consult an
Meron kaming coding education. Pwede naman silang
tumulong. Okay. Sige. Pero I'll wait for your output. Maganda yan. Can we adapt sa school? Pero saan siya gagamit? Anong or secondary lang siya, ano?
For secondary lang po, sir.
Sayang.
Yung mga topics na pwede kong ilagay.
Sayang siya.
Sayang. Kita pakinabangan. Joke. Okay. Sir Henry Mendez, thank you, Mr. Escucha. Do you have something in mind? Mr. Mendez, you are raising your hand.
Yes, sir.
Apo.
Clarifications lang po, sir.
Yes po.
Apo, yung instructional material, sir, yun po ba yung individual na isasubmit?
Yes po. Ito pong ating group design thinking, activity lang po to sa group. Apo.
Okay po, sir.
Yung individual project, yan po ang sinasabi kong requirement ninyo. Saka at the same time, exam na din. So, pero hindi ibig sabihin na isang topic lang, it's a series of topic. Medyo mahaba-haba yan na gagawin. So, that's why I want to know. Halimbawa, in the case of Askucha, gagawa siya ng mobile app. Diba? Pero, dapat, hindi isang topic lang, Mr. Askucha. Kasi nakita ko, may mga, di ba, may mga 3 or 4 na competency. Tama po ba?
Yes po, sir.
Or topics ba? Or may grade level ba siya? Can you give us Sige, go ahead.
Yung sir, yung sa, let's say for example, yung mga exploratory subjects sa TLE, meron silang mga anong tawag, yung mga competencies, chapters, by chapters. Yung chapter 1 about sa mga tools and equipment, chapter 2 mga cleaning and sanitizing, chapter 3 parang mensuration and calculation, chapter 4. Pwede naman siya hati-hatiin, sir.
Okay. Tapos i-submit mo sa akin, pwedeng isang file muna, wag mo lang yung parang tawag dito, yung parang nabibili na sa Play Store. May tawag diyan na file bago mo siya i-upload sa Play Store. Merong
APK. Okay.
Yan, .apk. Pwede ng .apk mo baka mapag-aralan ko. Gagawan ko din yan ng app, yung gagawin ko sa electronic.
Okay po, sir.
Thank you, Sir Jonel. Sir, I think si Sir Mendez messaged me last time. Tama ba, Sir Mendez? I think meron ka na atang gagawing material. Can you tell us about it? Para walang duplication tayo.
Plan pa lang po, sir.
Sige.
Actually, yung yung nasa isip ko yung common kasi sa students yung nahihirapan ng pag-test ng mga components. Tapos pag yung sa interpretation of diagrams. Kahit senior high school na, yun pa rin, sir, yung nagiging problema nila.
Yun nga, even
yun sana, sir.
I agree with you, Sir Mendez. Even sa college, kasi ako po nagtuturo ng electronics, my students are having difficulty with the interpretation of diagrams. Kaya nag-uumpisa ako ulit. We start from familiarizing with the different schematic symbols. Kahit yung schematic symbols, hindi nila mahina palibasa because of technology yun . They rely too much. Unlike before, na mas madami, we were tasked to memorize or to be familiar with kasi ang daming symbols sa electronics . Even sa electrical, madami din. So, up to now, even pag-interpret ng connections, ng drawings, mahina ang pick up nila. So, maganda yun, sir na plano mo regarding sa testing saka interpretation of diagram. So, maraming topics yan, for sure. I don't know if you're going to schematic, mga ano ba yun? Circuit or wiring diagram. Diba? Sige. So, anybody from this group has a plan to develop the prototype or a mock-up? May I know? Wala pa. Yes, Miss Briobo? Yes? Ano po yung gagawin mong prototype? Para at least wala tayong duplication kasi pag nag-submit kayo, pare-parehas. Na. Hello? Can you tell us about it? Hello, paging?
Hello, sir.
Yes po.
Wala kasi po yung signal ko.
Sige.
Ito po, sir, na sa amin, yung motivational progress monitoring tool, we are pursuing po din, sir, na gawin siyang software pero offline ang pag-access ng mga student. Para din po siya, sir, doon sa mga student na hindi din ganun ka-accessible yung internet po sa kanila.
Okay. So, reminder, if you're going to come up with a prototype or a tool, lagay niyo po siya ng narrative or write-up for that. Kung ano po siya, saan po siya gagamitin, anong year level, ano ba yung mga topics or mga lessons para dyan. Hindi po sapat na yung software lang, ha. Kasi kaya nga, giving you enough time. There will be instances na hindi tayo mag-meet just to focus, just to give you ample time para ma-complete nyo yung as I've said, itong subject na to is outcomes based na po. You need to come up with a product. Since most of you are tapos na ng principles and techniques. Okay? So if you have questions or clarifications po or make kuhan kayo, feel free to message me po para ma-accept ko, maintindihan ko po yung gagawin yung technology or material. So before we end, are there any more questions po, clarifications? Class? I think hearing none, can I ask for a photo op para maging evidence ko na nag-conduct ako ng online class? Please cooperate. Sige po. Turn on your camera in a count of 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Thank you, class. Thank you for your time. And yung continuation natin next meeting po. Sige. Bye, everyone. So, class, once again, thank you for this meeting because we have a fruitful discussion and I'm impressed with some of your outputs. So, for next meeting, the next group will present also their design thinking process. So, as of now, see you next. To conclude, see you next meeting.